So one thing I want to point out before we get into today's video is that you may have just noticed that Larabi's is a sponsor for my channel. And I greatly appreciate the support he gives to me. And I don't want to do anything to harm the relationship between my channel, JC's Bees, and Larabi's. So I'm going to give a little disclaimer here. Larabi's makes a plate that slides under the bottom of Apimaye colonies and makes it so you can use a vaporizer, such as his, to treat with oxalic acid and not harm the plastic. This video is not to take away from sales of that plate because it is very well made, and Rob's put all of the hard work into making it and testing it out, and can stand by it that it doesn't harm the plastic on the hives, and it does drop the mite load, so you get a significant treatment when you use his plate. So that's all very, very important. The meaning of my video today is not to take away from his sales. The meaning of my video today is to help out the people that only have a couple Apimaye colonies and can't really justify spending the money for this plate. Maybe looking for an alternative way to use a vaporizer and still treat their colonies. So I just wanted to point that out real quick. I don't want to do anything to harm our relationship with Rob and his business. I want to promote that. His vaporizer is made very well and has held up very well for me. So if you're looking for quality vaporizer, I suggest you check out his site, and by using the link down below, you will get a small discount, and that link can be found in the video description. Another thing I'd like to point out real quick is I'm going to mention a friend and an insert he used in his Apimaye colonies to treat. As you're going to see, I'm not so sure that insert is going to work for me, but it's worked very well for him. I do want to mention we're in different climates. I'm in Central Ohio. He was in California. He is now in North Carolina. So a little bit different temperatures as far as where we're located, but it's worked very well for him. I'm just not so sure that I want to stand behind that and put my name on it and then somebody melt their colony, or maybe they don't get a good mite drop and they want to come back at me. So I've got to kind of filter through what I want to stand behind here. And I'm not saying I don't stand behind the insert. If it works great for him, maybe it is something you want to try. So I'm looking for a way that I can use my Larabi's vaporizer, oxalic acid vaporizer, to treat my Apimaye colonies. I was going to experiment with an insert on the bottom of the colony, and I installed that insert yesterday, but after looking at it and its position in the colony, so I mentioned some inserts that I tried to install, or I shouldn't say I tried, I did install one. And I installed it here on my Apimaye Ergo kit, and these are what they look like. They're little brass inserts. A friend of mine who's used Apimaye colonies for as long as I've known him has been experimenting with these inserts, and they work very well for him with his Jono Vap. And I thought, having the Larabi's vaporizer, it ought to work just as well. The problem is once I installed these yesterday, after installing it in the place that my buddy had installed his, I laid on the ground underneath the colony, and I noticed it's probably not going to be as effective as I thought. You can see the insert right there. It's right below the plug for our pollen trap to slide in. And, the issue I see from looking underneath, and you had to pull out this tray and look up through. I got some pictures here all overlap. The first problem is that this threaded insert is not long enough to reach from out here to the inside. There's a double wall here, and there's a little bit of space between those two walls, and the insert does not reach from one to the other. That's the first problem. The second problem I noticed laying under there and looking up is that the bees have propolized a lot of the vents in the bottom board closed. So that tells me by treating through this, which is under the screening or the ventilation on the bottom board, not a whole lot of them vapors are going to make it up through, which is going to drop the effectiveness of the oxalic acid. So those are the inserts, and that's where I put it. I do kind of see maybe why these are working for him and not melting the plastic. I think because they're brass. For one, they don't hold much heat. And the other thing is on the inside of these, you can see they're threaded. And being that it's threaded on the inside, there's not a whole lot of surface area there that makes contact with the tubing on the oxalic acid vaporizer. So since there ain't a whole lot of contact there, it's hard for the heat from the vaporizer to transfer to the brass. And then, like I said, it's brass, so it doesn't hold heat very well. So I think those are the two reasons that these are working for my friend. I'm just not real sure about how effective the vapor is going to, or how much vapor is going to make it up through the vented bottom. So that's why I'm experimenting with this new method of the extended tube on my vaporizer. So let's get back to that. So as you can see, I've got the Larabi's vaporizer heating up here this morning. And I've taken a small piece, well, it's probably about 5-6 inches long, piece of copper tubing, and I believe it's 1/4 inch. And this piece actually slides right over the nozzle on the end of little Robbie's vaporizer. And it'll slide clear up to the base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this on. I'm going to experiment here, just do a couple rounds of oxalic acid out into the air. And I want to see if this piece of copper pipe, my thoughts are it's probably going to cool real fast, and when it cools real fast, all the oxalic acid is just going to coagulate and stick to the inside of this tubing, which we can see now is fully open. There we go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to slide it over there, I'm going to allow this to continue heating up, and we're going to experiment with a couple rounds of oxalic acid and see what happens with this copper tubing. Once it cools down, we'll pull it back off, look through it, see if it's full of acid or if the treatment flowed through the tubing and worked successfully. If it works successfully, my thought is I can use this vaporizer to treat through the entrance on my Apimaye colonies. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and slide this bad boy on and see how this works. There we go, we got it on all the way. And we're to temperature. You can tell that because the heating element light has kicked off. So now I just need to grab my oxalic acid and a couple caps. Got 2 caps here. I'm going to go ahead and install one and see how this works, folks. I'll tell you, at first sight, I am very, very impressed with how well this is working. Now you can see the view from the GoPro camera, but look at the view from what I am seeing. Look at all them vapors, folks. They're making it all the way through the extended tube. I'm very anxious to pull that tubing off there and see how well the acid's making it through, or if it's coagulating. There we just heard the heating element kick off. Temperature is rising rapidly, and we seem to be out of acid. So let's remove this cap. And let's take a quick peek. And you can see here on the end, we do have a big old dollop of oxalic acid. What I'd like to do now is just continue straight to the second capping, or cap, and we'll see if it flows through too. As you can see, folks, it's having no problems pushing that vapor out. I may have just found how I'm going to treat my Apimaye colonies with oxalic acid. I mean, even if it was to plug the tube after one cap, how hard is it to take a piece of clothes hanger, push it down through there, clean out the tubing, and then go to the next colony? It really seems like it would be effective enough that you would get by, at least in my opinion. So let's remove the cap. Let's take a look at the end here again. You can see it's not closed completely. There's a little opening there on the top, but there is quite a bit that coagulated right there on the end. So what I'll do is I'll let this cool down, and then we'll pull this tubing off and we'll see how clean the tube is. So I'll set this down here. I'm going to press the power switch on the side, shut that off, and we'll allow that to cool down. Okay, folks, so it's been about 20 minutes now. This tip should be cool. Yep, I figured being copper it would cool really fast. So let's see what the inside of this tubing looks like. And I'm going to have a hard time probably holding this up to the camera so you can see through it. But there you go. It is completely open, folks, with the exception of this little bit here on the tip. A simple little plunger tool, a piece of clothes hanger or whatever it may be, slide through there, clean that out, stick it back on, and go treat your next colony. I think that is going to be one sure way that we can treat our Apimaye colonies through the front entrance and not have any problems. Now, that being said, with this extension on there and sticking it into the entrance of our Apimaye colonies, I would not suggest, per se, you let all of the weight of the device hang on this copper extension. I think I'd probably keep my hand on the handle of the tool while the vaporization is taking place. Just add a little stability. You don't want anything to break. It is a very handy tool to have, and they're not cheap. So if you're not aware what an entrance looks like on an Apimaye colony, this is what they look like. You can see all of these little rounded slots or holes down here at the bottom. And that's where I'm thinking I'll be able to slide my tube in from my vaporizer and treat effectively. Now, the one thing I got to consider is that entrance that they're going in and out, the brown piece, is plastic. And the white landing board is plastic. All the hive is plastic. So I got to keep that in mind when I stick in a vaporizer that's 400 and some degrees. I don't want any melting to occur. So that's going to have to be my next step to figure out. So if this is something you're interested in to learn more on how to treat these Apimaye colonies with the Larabi's vaporizer like I have, then you're probably going to want to stick around and subscribe to my channel, because in the next video I'm going to do a treatment and I'm going to show you how it's done. So if it's something you're interested in, make sure you subscribe. And this is an Apimaye wood hive upgrade kit. Basically, you get their bottom board, their top cover, which is insulated, and their top feeders, which are under that lid and also act as an inner cover. Anyway, folks, I hope this video has been helpful for you, maybe a little bit educational, and we'll see you all back here next Sunday. Thanks for watching JC's Bees.